¡Vamos, hostia! ¡Vamos, hostia!
One more, yeah?
Come on down to Highbury. You can see Thierry Henry. He is the best player you will ever see. Thierry Henry. Now if you come on down to Highbury.
Hello and welcome to From Dial Square to Where, very special edition tonight. Absolutely delighted to have for a second time Bernard Butler with us tonight. How are you, Bernard?
Good, very good, Andrew. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad at all, thank you.
Good.
I'm going to, I just can't believe this. My door is being knocked as we speak. So bear with me 1 second. I'll let you, I'll hand over to my co-host.
Should we just deal with this ourselves then?
Yeah, no, I'll be 1 second. You carry on for a second, chappers.
Wow, well, this is quite a new one for me, actually, Bernard. I literally only started co-hosting like last week, and here I am in at the deep end. But why not? Anyway, welcome, Bernard. I am Chappers. You are Bernard. Obviously, we've got you on here because you're a massive Arsenal fan.
I am, yeah. I absolutely, yeah. Yeah, that's...
Yeah. So I suppose we can kick off just sort of by saying, when did you first start supporting Arsenal?
I mean, we went through this with Andrew. I'm kind of last time. My story. My story is I'm a bit of the kind of the embarrassing Ronnie Wood of Arsenal fans, which is it feels a bit unfair these days because we've now been at the new place quite a long time. But I mean, basically, I'm a sort of Invincibles onwards fan. My story is when I was growing up, I was a QPR fan. Actually, I was brought up a QPR fan till I was 10 years old. Got brought to the FA Cup final for my birthday, And guess what happened? It was just the worst football match of the history of all football. And it was the horrible Spuds there as well. And they beat us in the replay. And basically, about a week later, it feels like that, I discovered the guitar and just gave up football after that, totally. And I mean, music took over my life completely until I had kids, basically, again. And then it was just, you know, where we live in North London, not far from the Emirates. And it was just a case of, yeah, when are we going to Arsenal? And I'm like, okay, we're going to football now again. Okay, I can get the hang of this. And then it was around that time, and moving up to the Emirates. And so, I mean, long story short, we've been season ticket holders for 10 years. Yeah, just over 10, actually about 12 years now at the Emirates. So not counting this year. So that's my story there. There's plenty. It feels like there's plenty of history there where my kids have grown up through and through. But I've got a bit of a blotch. I mean, in a way, I think for me, I think it's quite a nice thing, and for them as well, actually. I mean, they've never seen Arsenal win the league. They've never seen those kind of moments that you know, the nostalgists will talk about. And in a way, it's a really nice, refreshing perspective, you know, for people of that age and that generation. It's you know, the FA Cup meant the world, all of them, the last few years. Yeah. And everything is onwards and upwards, and I do meet a lot of people who are, you know, who are sort of too dyed in the wool to understand that feeling of how football has changed, and that when things happen that are great, as they may have happened 2 days ago, possibly, we'll wait and see. But when those things happen, they're genuinely exciting, rather than just talking, oh, well, why aren't we winning the league anymore or something. So that's the kind of story there, yeah.
Have you been getting sort of quite excited about the whole transfer window? Have you been...
It's just hilarious, really. I tell you what, I was teaching on, I teach in university as lecturer one day on my Mondays. And I knew this, my 18-year-old would be just all day texting me, glued to, you know, glued to Twitter or whatever. And it's just really funny. I came home, I didn't go home to about 9:30 on Monday night, by which time I'd had this deluge of it's happening, this kind of stuff, you know. And I'm getting sent these texts these tweets from, I'm like, who the hell is this? I mean, this is in Arabic. I'm reading a text in Arabic. This is a problem. He's like, no. He's like, yeah, that's exactly who. But I'm like, all right, just let's step back from this a second. This is completely absurd what we're doing here. So by the time I'd got home, I was reading texts in tweets in Arabic, and looking at my favorite bit was when there was a photo of two men from behind walking through a revolving door with the caption that they are on their way with the release course right now. Look, this picture proves it. And I'm like, this is two human beings. They look like they're going into Tesco's or something. Yeah. Like, what has happened to us that we're doing this? We're glued to Arabic tweets and a hazy picture of two blokes. So I find that side of it just really funny, actually. Yeah, but
it's really gone next level, hasn't it? Completely next level. I mean, you know, if you'd got it 10 years ago, then you know what's happening now is something else. You know, all the detective work that goes on and all the rest of it. You know, it's I actually the college I'm at is for my sins is right next to Stamford Bridge, actually. And so I cycled past Stamford Bridge on the way home last night, and I did on Monday night at about 8 o'clock, and I glanced in, and there wasn't a soul in sight. There was no fans outside, no Sky cameras there or anything. No. You know, it kind of that side of it has changed. It's all switched to Arabic tweets and hazy pictures of strange blokes unidentified.
It was the famous dildo man that was on Sky that time. Do you remember that guy?
Yeah.
It's him that's put an end to all of that, you know, crowds outside the stadium.
I know. What a shame.
Well, it wouldn't happen this year anyway, unfortunately, because of obviously everything that's going on. But that was a shame. That was, well, it's hilarious, but yeah.
My favourite was, who was the player now that was He was one of those players. There was a bunch of players. Darren Bent was another one of them who was constantly turning up in a helicopter somewhere, constantly another club. And there was a guy on his way to QPR, and then he couldn't get in or something.
Was it
Wingy?
Yeah.
What was his
Peter
name?
Odin Wingy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he didn't get in.
The same thing was happening
I love all that.
to what's his name? The Leon guy, Memphis Depay. It's like nearly the same thing happened to him. He was supposed to be going to Barcelona, and he was literally got into his car, went to the airport, he was waiting outside the plane, just waiting with his phone in his hand for the go ahead to actually get on the plane and go to Barcelona. He was just waiting there for hours, apparently. So yeah, it's mad. It's like a proper event now, isn't it? The transfer deadline day. I'm surprised that the card shops haven't got cards printed already now for Happy Deadline Day. I hope your team gets everything you want and all that sort of stuff.
Congratulations on your new signing.
It probably. I know. I should. That's actually copyrighted, that idea. But sorry. But yeah, it's great to have you on again. As I say, but we'll go through obviously the signings and everything like that, and the party time, as everyone keeps saying, that's going to be really annoying after a day or two, isn't it?
Yeah.
But let's have a chat, just a quick bit more of a chat about yourself, Bernard, because I mean, I'm a lad of the 90s. I think that's my era, very much so, and I grew up from throughout the 90s. I've said this a few times on the show, but I don't think there was ever a month went past when I didn't go to at least a couple of gigs. Throughout that period of my life, and pretty much like yourself, football is a big part of my life, but music is equally so to me as well. And Suede were just absolutely incredible, and the debut album especially really sort of hit home, with Metal Mickey, and that was the first single, I think, wasn't it? Metal Mickey, off the top of my head.
I think Drowners was first, wasn't it?
Drowners, yeah.
Oh, that's right. Yes.
And
then Animal Nitrate, of course, what a fantastic song. And Richard in the chat there has put Animal Nitrate's one of his favourite singles of all time.
Thanks, Richard.
When you were, can I ask a question about Brett? He won't be watching this, will he? Just to see whether there's some bit of gossip was true or not from the 90s. Is that all right?
I can't guarantee I'll tell the truth about anything.
That's
I'll make up a lie happily.
I heard that Damon Albarn, obviously from Blur, took away is it Louise Justine Frischman. I heard that Damon stole her from Brett. Is that true?
Oh, well, I wasn't there. I didn't see it. As I'll be arsend for you, and I didn't see it at the time.
I didn't see it.
Yeah. Yeah, okay. Nothing that I saw. Yeah, I don't want to get involved in that, for sure.
That's fine. That's fine. I always wanted to know whether that was true or not, but I absolutely no problem at all. there was spats every week in. So I've always bought things like NME and all the magazines, really, the music magazines, Select and all that sort of stuff at the time. And every week there was some kind of spat at that time in that sort of musical genre of all the Britpop bands, obviously Blur, Oasis, all that sort of stuff. But yeah, that was one. I remember that being a bit of a rumor at the time. That was all.
I think with music, obviously you have that layer of fandom, and where things are spoken about, and it's too complicated, as everything, they're too complicated to explain. But if you think about the football analogy, if you think about a lot of the reasons we have problems working out why decisions are made, why didn't we buy that player? What happened there? Why Mesut Ozil this? Why Mesut Ozil that? Why Mesut Ozil everything? Why? All these things we just simply don't know. And a lot of the time, I mean, well, Arsene has his book coming out quite soon, doesn't he? And I mean, I think
I want to talk about that. Yeah.
I think we have to think about is an awful lot of those questions we were thinking about 5 years ago, or somewhere on some terrible afternoon in Stoke or something, and just thinking why did that happen? Why didn't we do this? Why didn't we buy this player? Why didn't we buy Xabi Alonso at the time, or something like that? You know, why did we sell Van Persie, etc.? You know, I think it takes some time to find out the truth. And I mean, the biggest one at the moment is obviously Özil. You know, where there's so much there that to talk about, to make conjecture about. I honestly don't think any of us. I haven't heard anybody, any pundit or any podcaster or anything have any reasonable explanations for anything. I think everyone just at the moment just wants to turn it off, quite frankly, until he does something again, which puts himself in the spotlight. But I mean, there's a real analogy there with the way it works in music and lots of those areas that things seem very simplistic on the surface, you know, sometimes, and they make simplistic stories that, you know, are good for fans. But yeah. I think the truths are always just a bit more complex, you know, like most of our lives, you know, they're in reality a bit more complex, and there's more to it. And with time, you know, the perspective of time, you know, puts a different slant from all sides.
Yeah, definitely. And Richard in the chat. Thanks for watching, Richard. He's the one I mentioned earlier. Is a big fan. He's asked the question, what the sort of real reason behind you leaving Suede, and whether you still have any contact with them at all.
Do you know what? Again, it is 26 years ago, and you know what? It's exactly what I just said, Richard, a minute ago about, you know, yeah, things happen and there's a conjecture at the time, and then actually time gives a completely different perspective on everything. I could probably make up completely if I were to tell you now. We'd have to sit down, quite frankly, for the night, and I'd probably still not be able to do anything. I don't know. Things happen. I mean, for me, in my life, you know, as with anyway, football analogies again, you know, you have to go forward all the time. And what I do now, honestly, I've made hundreds of records since that time. I've got a record out at the moment. I wrote a song with somebody this afternoon. That's my kind of life, what my life is. I've written an album in the lockdown period. You know, I mean, there's so much work going on since that time. It's lovely that people look at it as part of their life. But in reality, it's really not my life at all. You know, it really hasn't been for a whole quarter of a century. So if you imagine putting that period of anybody else's life together, what you've done and what's happened in the interim, it's probably mind blowing. You know, to think. So,
I mean,
I do.
Sorry, go on. I was going to say you've worked with so many, you know, big stars and produced the records with them throughout the years. And who would you say is the biggest highlight you've actually worked with them for? Or maybe also, if you can add an extra sub question onto it, who have you worked with that maybe you thought you wouldn't really have any kind of connection with, but who's turned out to be completely different than you expected as well? Because that must happen quite a lot.
I mean, honestly, I try and avoid invitations that I don't think are going to be good, that people I like, you know, there's something I like. So it doesn't really happen that way, you know, that I'm surprised. I'm honestly always thrilled when everything I do, and again, this is going to sound like such a cop out, but every time I do something, I'm looking for the thrill, you know. So this afternoon I was writing a song with somebody who I'm not going to mention, but it's actually an artist who I'm friends with, actually, strangely, but somebody whose records I listened to when I was a teenager, and ended up living near, and we ended up writing a song this afternoon, and so that's a huge thrill for me. But at the same time, you know, it could be writing a song with a new artist. I was with a new artist a couple of weeks ago that I wrote a song with, and I'm desperately looking for the thrill, you know, of something new. That's what I love about it. Writing a song is a hugely thrilling moment of expectation, and it's all about, you meet somebody, quite often they're complete strangers, With strangers, it's if you're not doing something, talking, having conversation very quickly, it's really awkward. And you have to try and get into somebody's life very quickly and start trying to translate that and trying to interpret that into a musical story. And often that can be very personal process and a very intense process. And it can be, 3 or 4 hours that you come out of it and you feel like you've just been, pulled through a washing machine or something. But the thrill of it, the reward of it is huge. I'm very passionate about the power of pop music and the power of song to affect people's lives. I can hear it from, obviously, because you two guys and the people watching all love music and all have your own stories of being affected by music, whatever you do. And so that always convinces me, just like me, that it has a huge power and a role to play in all of our lives, and it can do something great for us all, give us great memories. And, so I'm really privileged. I've always thought I'm privileged to be part of that process, to have the opportunity. And if all I did was to say, well, I did one of those 25 years ago, can't you just listen to that again? I wouldn't feel good about myself. So I promised myself when I was a kid, I'd never be that guy in the pub going on about the old days. You know what I mean? The old rocker in the corner of the pub. He's still got his left
like that at the end of the bar on the stool. Have your that's got to be I promised myself I'd never be that old geezer who you thought was good for a story, and then you just went away and said, "What a sad bastard," And I always promised myself I'd never be that, So that's why, and I love teaching as well. I teach lecture songwriting all day on a Monday to young people, and I hear songs. I expect to hear songs every Monday that I love from complete new creatures. That's the exciting thing for me. Another football analogy, what a thrill it is when we saw Gabriel Martinelli last season. Nobody knew who he was. Out of the blue, suddenly thrown the pitch, and he scored that goal at Chelsea, and we were just like, oh my god, that's kind of. Listen, we expect it of Aubameyang. We love Oba, and we want him to do that, but we kind of expect it as well, don't we? Yeah. We're going to expect a lot from PARTEY, but when you see a Martinelli come through, or Saka, Bukayo Saka, when he came through, you just thought, wow, those kind of thrills are really. I think they're the great things in life, the unexpected. That's the best part about following Arsenal for me is when the youngsters come through and you see them, your own academy prospect. It's like you're tending to a garden and all your seeds are starting to sprout, and you're the one that looks after them and they're growing under your guidance. And it's just that I feel like that about the young players, and I can't wait to see. Hopefully, he'll get some minutes this season. Emile Smith-Rowe. I can't wait to see him in the team.
Maybe
really
Balogun as well.
Yeah, definitely.
He might get some minutes this year as well. Yeah, it's a little bit harking a little bit back to when Arsene when we didn't have any money and Arsene had Project Youth, and you had all the youngsters coming through then, it's very there's echoes of that for sure.
It's a great segue actually onto the Arsene point, and you mentioned it earlier, Bernard, about his book coming out.
Yeah,
and someone put a link to some interviews with Arsene Wenger that's upcoming on obviously being streamed live because of the situation now, and I've booked tickets for. Well, there was 3 actually. I've got 2 booked already. One's on the 12th. And one's on the 14th, like an audience with Arsene Wenger.
Wow.
And I can't wait. They're an hour each. And you know what? If I could sit down and chat to, anyone, he's got to be right up there for the person you want to have a chat to. But what do you think about this book that's coming out? Do you honestly think that with his character, the way he is and how he's such a gentleman and so loyal to the club. Do you think we're going to get much out of the book, Bernard?
I expect anybody who's that intelligent to give you a good story. You need to interpret that. Going back, if I was, in his position, obviously you'd be thinking twice about everything you say. I think he's a very, very honest and dignified guy. I've got huge respect for him, and I've got huge fascination with him. So yeah, like you, I can't wait to read that, and I love hearing him talk. Any interview, I still love hang on him, compared to an awful lot of football people that I just really don't give a damn about, if I'm honest, hearing about. So whether you're expecting the full story, scandal and stuff, I don't know. I just think he'll probably just give you a story that's interesting and intelligent. I'd be really shocked if he didn't give you something that I guess is, come on, lots of football biographies are fairly for the fan, and that's all. And Ray Parlour's one I absolutely love. I mean, you can read it in an afternoon. It's the most ridiculous load of stories.
I'm listening to the audio version of that at the moment, actually.
Right. I mean, that's just brilliant stuff to read on a train journey and just laugh your head off and to regurgitate the ridiculous stories and stuff. But I expect Arsene's to be something that goes a little bit beyond football. So, that's what I'd expect from it. Something that's just not just about football. And can't wait for it. Yeah,
I'm really looking forward to it myself as well.
I don't think he's not really a warts and all sensationalist guy, is he? Like you say, Bernard, he will give us a story and he will tell us things that we haven't heard before. But he's not the kind of guy to be salacious and tell those stories from the gutter, and and also he'll want to protect a few people's reputations as well, even if perhaps some people reputations don't necessarily deserve protecting.
No, absolutely. There's another question that's popped up, Bernard, from Steep. Thanks for watching. Hope I pronounced that correctly. What's happened with your collaboration with Ben Watt, Bernard?
Nothing's happened with it, but we did 2 records together. Well, I mean, not together. It's Ben's records. I just played guitar on it. And the 3rd record, he didn't want to have guitar. He told me that about 6 months before he made it. He said, "Listen, I'm just not going to have guitar." And I was like, "Cool. Okay. That's the way it goes. It's fine." When you don't expect to manage a club forever, do you? Every manager knows they're going to be sacked. That's the one thing that's ever going to happen. And I really liken that to record producers as well, and musicians. It's however good what you've done is, you're going to be fired sooner or later.
Have you got any upcoming work that you can actually discuss with us at the moment? Or
I've got a record out next Friday with my name on it. It's the first record that's had my name on it for 20 odd years, and it's with a lady called Catherine Ann Davies, the great writer I collaborated with. Spent a long time working on this record, and it was kind of largely ignored until somebody heard it by accident and just really wanted to put it out. So that's been a real joy. It's something that's happened kind of in the lockdown period. We've been finishing and promoting and trying to get out, and it's finally coming out next Friday. So that'll be available. So, check that out.
I tried to pre-order one of the 1,000 special editions, and it said it was all sold out, unfortunately.
Yeah, I think there's going to be some more coming on sale now. So, but yeah, it's sold out as a pre-order, which is amazing because it's tough.
Yeah,
it's tough to let people know what you're doing, and to get records, to get audiences. So I've got that going on, and I've been doing writing with lots of people. I've got a bit kind of fairly big project which is happening, which has evolved over lockdown period, the summer, and which is quite exciting for me. Wrote a song "Stay" with somebody who I love. I'm making my own record, which I'm going to be doing at some point within the next 5 years. But I'm working very slowly on my own. My first solo record, and that will be my first solo record in 20 years. So, so all of that together, I'm
looking forward to that.
Busy.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Let's move on then, because I know that you haven't got too much longer left. Let's have a quick chat about the season so far, and obviously the players that we've brought in. I mean, it's very exciting. We're getting Thomas PARTEY, and we all hope that he's going to be the new Patrick Vieira that we've been missing for the last 15 years. He certainly looks the part, doesn't he?
He looks like a tough character. He looks strong, physical, athletic, all that kind of stuff. He looks, I mean, look, put it this way. Again, it goes back to deadline day where everyone's certain of all these players and listing off the 5,000 players that we're supposed to be signing. And I step back and say, honestly, how many of these of you actually watched kick a ball? Apart from on YouTube for that free kick or that tackle that your mate sent you or something. Be honest about this. Come on. So with Partey, there is a bit more. I mean, we've all seen a bit more of him with Letico. I mean, I say this about him. I haven't read a bad word. I mean, I haven't heard any skepticism at all, which is quite encouraging. I'm a fan of the Arscast and the Arsenal Vision podcast. I guess we're all listening to those things, and they're fantastic. Those guys, what they do, and as well, and all that kind of community of podcasters and the analysis you get. From different angles.
As well, of course. You know, it goes without saying.
Exactly. You know, we're all together. I think that all of these things together, I think, are great. You know, when you get this. So listen a lot to them, and I think one thing that comes out of it is that somebody did mention on one of the pods this week, which is just that this can't fail. Actually, it's a big money thing. He's at a certain age. It's very scouted. They've wanted him for a long time. They've admitted they've been looking at him for years. That Partey's been wanted to come for several years as well, and it's all been about the timing, the money, and all that kind of stuff. And so it feels like it doesn't look like this one that no one it can't go wrong. Basically, you know, I don't want it to go wrong. You know, and
it's like the sort of guy that will just slot straight in because he's so experienced as well, isn't he, and mature. But he's not. He's still at a great age, isn't he? He's right in the middle of his sort of prime, don't you think? Yeah,
I mean, sometimes it can be frustrating when you hear about the great player we're getting. Saliba is, for example, is the one where we waited so long for that to happen, and then he's not ready, and so that's going to take a bit longer. Gabriel seems to have just by accident been slotted in. Actually, I'm not sure if he was intended to slot in so quickly. It feels like what happened there? It's David Luiz, wasn't it, getting injured, that he got thrown in, Gabriel, and he's now kind of has to start every game. So that's great, but that's pretty rare, isn't it? With us, it feels like.
Sorry, I'm just saying. There's a comment here that says A spine. Now this is from one of my friends who mentioned it a bit in our little group chat. But I think there's something that we have lacked, both sort of figuratively and actually as well. You know, is a proper spine. You know, a world-class spine, if you like. But when we've got Leno and we've got Gabriel and then Partey in the midfield and Ober up top, that is a real connected spine, you know, and something to get quite excited about, I think. I mean, he got some assurances as well from Arteta that he was able to express himself a little bit more creatively and offensively, and sort of said that he was, not being used exactly how he wanted to be by Simeone, and that he had more to give, really. Cool. So I'm quite excited about it. And you're absolutely right. You know, it does need to work, and he does need to hit the ground running, much in the same way as Gabriel, really.
We also bought a couple of youngsters. We bought which went really under the radar. One of them sounds quite exciting. Like an 18-year-old Swedish centre forward who's 6'4", and apparently when he was at Bologna for a little while in Italy in their academy, and he was being very widely touted because of his stature and style of play as the new Zlatan Ibrahimovic. So that might be quite good. He's gone straight into the under-23s, and we've got our winger, a really highly rated winger from Ajax as well. So that's quite good that because we've taken so many out of the under-23s and put them into the main first team squad, we were looking a bit short there. So we've actually been sort of building up the under-23 academy squad with some incomings as well, which is quite positive, really.
There's the Brexit factor with that as well, in that it will be quite difficult to get those players from those clubs. With Brexit coming along, it's certainly going to be a lot harder. I don't really know all of the ins and outs of it, but I certainly know that it will be a lot more difficult for us to kind of make those deals. So yeah, they've been quite savvy in that sense, haven't they? Really,
they have. Yeah, absolutely. And what do you think so far? Just before you go, then, Bernard, about the season so far? We're 4 games in the league. And we're doing pretty well, really, aren't we? I mean, the Liverpool game, I think, could have gone totally different if they had the player sent off in the first couple of minutes. But, yeah, it's looked all right so far. What have you thought?
It feels like there's a personality shift, and that's the major thing, that if Arteta hasn't had the players that he wants so far, and let's face it, I don't think even with Partey and Gabriel, he's got the full picture. I think he's still pulling in players that he likes, but still working with what he's got. And that's going to go on for a while. But I think where he's obviously Wengerite, that's got to be the comparison, is the intelligence to be able to work with personality, expect people to be intelligent and to work in an intelligent way with him. And I think those are the kind of players that he goes for and he likes, that he has an understanding with, that are adaptable and work and understand that mentality. So I think it's a lot to do with mentality, and it feels like if all of the football isn't quite there, I don't think we're playing football that he ultimately wants us to play, but he feels like he's showing the players a way that they can win with what they've got and what he's got by using mentality. And I think that's really super clever, because it feels like that when he has got what he wants, that's really exciting.
Yeah, I love him. Every word that comes out of his mouth, it's great, and I think he's such a genuine guy, very much so as well. I don't think he says things as it is and expects the same in return. And I love the fact that the exiled players, such as Guendouzi and Ozil, they're not going to be let back in just because he's going to be short of players or whatever. It's down to his standards being met. And if he goes back on it like Unai Emery did, then it just weakens his position. And he's not the type of guy to do that. And with regards to the signing of Partey, I heard very strongly that it was down to a call put straight into the Cronkies from Arteta, and said, I need this guy, I need this money. And they said, okay. And they released the fund.
Yeah.
So
you need to respect that we've got somebody who has an influence from who they are as a person, the personality, not just somebody slapping money down or shouting abuse at players in the dressing room. It's using their influence. So, and that will create, the same kind of influence over future players. People want to play with Arteta, and I think we should really acknowledge how lucky we are to have this guy, because I just think in 5 years he'll be hugely sought after from other clubs, and that's something that we'll have to deal with as well, just in the same way that Bukayo Saka hopefully will be hugely sought after in 2 years' time as well, and because of their development. So I think that we should realise how charmed we are to have one of those characters now, because they're few and far between. Obviously Guardiola is an obvious one, and but I don't think anybody would any Tottenham fan, for example, would not rather have Arteta leading what they've got. Surely you've got to. I don't know, Ed, and I know I live in North London. Lots of my friends are Tottenham fans, and we talk about these things, and they're all just like coping. It's a coping strategy, Mourinho, over there. That's all. They're just getting on with it. And if he wins something, it's great, but nobody's really convinced. But everyone would love to have, just like 2 years ago, we all wanted to have Guardiola with us, or whoever, someone inspiring and progressive and modern and intelligent, because that's what you expect from a game that's got so much money in it, so much at stake. That's what we expect from the modern game.
I genuinely would not swap him for anyone in world football. And I think you're being a bit, what's the word? When you say that he's going to be sought after in 5 years, I think it's going to be a lot quicker than that. I think people are already taking notice. And what I'm more worried about more than anything is that Guardiola is not going to be, I don't think he's going to be at City more than maybe this season. He's never stayed anywhere this long ever before. And I think that when he does eventually move on, they're going to be after him, I'm sure, because they haven't been the same team since he left. Genuinely, if you look at all the results and the way that Guardiola acts as well, he's just been a different person. And when we beat them at the end of in the semi-final of the FA Cup, he's just like a broken man on the sidelines.
My most worrying thing is that if you notice how Mikel is starting to wear those weird woolly hooded tops, you know, those kind of things that are like, they're like half a hoodie, but half a jumper, which I can never understand Guardiola was wearing. And now Arteta started wearing them a little bit, you know, so that's my only bit of caution.
Maybe he was copying Arteta. Maybe the other way around.
Yeah, something going on there.
Yeah, definitely.
Listen, guys, I've got to walk the dog.
No problem.
Before you go, Bernard, I've got one final question that I really need to ask you. So regular listeners of this podcast will know that I'm a little bit obsessed with the Arsenal players, Barnett's. You know, I like a good Barnett on our players. It has to be said. I have noticed, Bernard, that your Barnett's looking pretty fabulous tonight, sir. And I need to know what the secret is. What is your hair care regimen, sir?
Hair care? I mean, you'd be disgusted. I haven't, you know, so nothing at all. You know, no product. No products, guys. That's the trick. Nothing at all.
How dare you? How very dare you?
Do you know what? I had a really bad haircut about a year ago, and it was really frustrated me because I went to barbers, and it was right before I was having my picture taken. You know, if I know I'm having my picture taken, you can't resist. You better have a haircut, you know, and it always goes wrong. I don't know why I do it. It always goes wrong. And then you always feel like a tit just sitting there, and you know the photos are going to be crap. So it really annoyed me, this thing. And I thought, right, that's it. I'm not cutting my hair for ages. So I haven't cut my hair since that. So, and you know what? Life is much easier. So that's probably that's the tip. Yeah. As long as we don't get into, Hector's not too bad at the moment. He's been through some worrying styles there. Danny Ceballos is going for the hairband thing, isn't he? Which is
Partey though. Partey.
Partey is pretty cool. It's pretty cool, yeah.
Do you know what? I think the worst one is Theo Walcott, who's just gone back to Southampton. His hair now. What the hell is he doing? What's he doing?
Theo, come on.
He needs to shave that off.
The ponytail. Somebody's just going to run up to him, be in the penalty area, and just be pulling onto that all the time. I would definitely be doing that at corners. I'd just be pulling it. The
cornrows and leading up to the ponytails is the worst part, I think. But anyway, Bernard, I really appreciate you coming on.
Thanks, Andrew.
I hope you enjoyed it.
Always pleasure.
I hope you'll come on again in the future again.
I will, yeah. Lovely to meet you, chappers.
Being an official friend of the show, Bernard.
Thank you. I'm honoured. Yeah, I'm honoured.
Thank you so much.
Take care. Have a great time, you guys. See ya.
And you. Bye-bye.
See ya.
Well, that was a joy, wasn't it? We're going to carry on for a bit as long as you're all right too.
So absolutely, mate. Just give me a second because I'm actually having a bit of an issue with my power. So 1 second. I might just need to might sort this out.
Hello. Okay, then. Bye-bye then. Bye-bye then.
I'm back. Turns out I haven't turned it off. There you go.
Oh, fantastic. I know it's well. That was I mean, Bernard. I wish we could have had longer, but it's just such a great guy. Really appreciate him coming on.
Fantastic.
But we've got a lot to discuss ourselves as well, and
we've got a ton to talk about, haven't we?
Oh, mate, honestly. Well, first things first. The most important thing that happened a couple of days ago was Gunnosaurus, of course.
Oh.
Now, do you know what? I mean, what
Jerry Quay? Is that how you say his name? Jerry Quay? Jerry Quay?
Yeah, quite. I don't know. But I just think this is all really weird because of this Mesut Ozil situation about him going onto Twitter and saying that I'm going to pay for his salary to keep him on as long as I'm with the club. What's your initial gut feeling when you saw that? Because I'm really torn. Really torn.
A little. I have to say. I mean, look, I was a little cynical. It's been very, very divided in our sort of group chat, if you like. In our Arsenal group chat. Yeah, some people have been going, well, yeah, but he's a nice guy, he's a charitable guy, and I do not deny that one second. He has done so much work for charity and so much for other people. He's a very giving guy, and it is typical of his character. But you can't help, I think, that in the back of your mind as well, that there's something else at play there. I know that his agent is a fairly devious fella and recognises an opportunity when one presents itself. And I mean, he couldn't have timed it any better, really. With I think that particular day, the Europa League squad is being announced as well, and it's like very, very, very pointed wording in the sense that it says, as long as I'm an Arsenal player, it's hard to say. It's very hard to say. I mean, I want to give him the benefit of the doubt because I think it's essentially a really, really lovely gesture to make, and it's very on brand for him with the I am 100% Arsenal, but there's just something, just that lingering thought in the back of your mind that says, is this actually about you paying Jerry's wages, or is it actually about Mesut Ozil?
Well, I just think it's being cynical. Oh.
You all right,
can you hear me all right?
Yeah, I can hear you, yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
That's all right. I thought the sound went a bit funny my end then. Excuse me. Yeah, I just think it's a dig at the club. And no matter what the gesture is, it's just a way of... It was embarrassing to the club. And the problem is that it's an obvious decision at the moment. He's basically been put on furlough because... there's no point in having a mascot at the moment. The same as not selling hot dogs at the stadium because there's no one there.
You meant Ozil had been put on furlough for a minute.
No, well, yeah, basically. He's
been on furlough for a long time. So.
No, absolutely. But Gunnosaurus, obviously, there's no need for him at the moment because we haven't got fans at the stadium.
Sure.
And I don't know, it's just what he put out is a huge embarrassment to the club, and it's no matter what the gesture is, that you can't get past that for me in my head. That's just something it's just embarrassing, and it's really undermining the club. For me, it's just it was a great promotional opportunity for him. Look at me, how nice I am. And don't get me wrong, I haven't really got a lot against Ozil at all. I like him as a player, and he's a very, very charitable person. But I just thought he was really snidey, if I'm honest.
I mean, it can be all of those things, can't it? The debate is not as black and white as saying it was or it wasn't. It could be all of those things, and it probably is.
Yeah,
and that's the theatre of football for you, really, isn't it? I mean, when Bernard was talking earlier just about the whole deadline day thing and the theatre of that, it does tend to be so much more going off. Certainly with the lack of fans about and empty stadiums, and I guess what could be maybe not a lack of interest, but maybe a lesser interest in football. I don't know if it's an organic thing that all of a sudden all of these theatrical things kind of keep happening. You know?
Tony Turner's put a few comments in, and thanks ever so much for watching, Tony.
The first one I wanted to say is I was very jealous of Bernard's hair. If I could get my hair like that, I'd be, you know, and the fact that he does nothing to...
well, if I could get hair, that'd be great for a start. That'd be lovely. Mind you, I mean, I can... he looked very blow-dried to me. His hair is lovely,
It looked a bit like that. I was intrigued, but apparently nothing.
Yeah, well, the Sting famously uses no kind of cosmetic products whatsoever. He stinks, apparently, Sting, because he doesn't even use deodorant. He won't use any kind of shampoo, deodorant, soap, anything like that.
It just uses cosmic products instead, right?
He just rolls in mud, I think, and sand. You know, rolls himself in a sand pit to clean himself, I think.
But he licks himself, maybe. Licks himself. That's kind of on brand for him, isn't it?
Is what?
Licks himself.
Licks himself.
Yeah, that's kind of on brand thing, isn't
like
it?
A cat, like
he's got this
back of his hand.
Yeah. He's got some kind of, you know, he's got some strange sexual proclivities, perhaps. That's
I think he famously, him and his wife are into that sort of tantric stuff, aren't they? You know?
Yes, indeed.
I mean, anyway, he's also said, Tony, Stuart Robson said we should get rid of Gunnosaurus. Did you hear Stuart Robson was on with the Gooners podcast recently, wasn't he? The American.
If I can.
Do you listen to that at all?
No, sometimes, but no, I haven't. I didn't know that Stuart Robson was on there. No,
I really don't like Stuart Robson.
Not a fan. No,
he is the most arrogant. So he loves himself. He absolutely in his world. He's done nothing wrong whatsoever, and he's one of the best players of all time. But yeah, I think we should get rid of him rather than Gunnosaurus. Tony, personally,
he just seems very, very contrary about everything. Not mentioning any names, but certain former AFTV people, shall we say, with who have a penchant for Datsuns. They have. I don't know. It seems that there is, whatever the kind of club's party line is, or kind of branding is, if you like, they always seem to deliberately buck the trend by being completely and utterly contrary to what's being done or said. Maybe just to get a rise or a reaction, or just to let people know that actually they're still there, which is, a shame.
Yeah. He's also said about the Ozil conversation we just had that he wanted the final push to not be registered with the club. Yeah, probably true. It's just so frustrating, the whole situation. And does Ozil get registered for the Premier League after not being registered for the Europa League groups?
I can't see it.
I don't think he will. No, I think he's good, definitely, because we've got to leave out 2 non-homegrown players, and he's got to be one that we're going to have to leave out. I think it's surely going to be, because it's the same as the Europa League squad. I think it was him and Socrates, wasn't it, that were left out, and I think it'll be the same for the Premier League, personally.
Do you think Socrates is going to get left out of the Premier League spots as well? Do you? Yeah. I mean, actually, yeah. I'm just thinking about, because we've got such a dearth of central defenders, and when you look at it like that, you've got Mustafi coming back quite soon. Chambers coming back. Chambers is nearly there, isn't he? So, yeah, I honestly can't think of anyone else it's going to be. But then, what happens with Socrates? Do we cancel his contract? And he can join wherever as a free agent, or what? I mean, what goes on?
In January, there's a number of players, including Ozil, who can sign pre-contract agreements with foreign clubs, and I'm sure that will happen with Socrates personally. That he will agree something with a club in January, and then we will try and probably negotiate him to leave there and then, rather than wait till the end of the season. I'm wondering whether something similar will happen with Ozil, and well, there's a few, isn't there, that Mustafi can do the same in January, and off the top of my head, I can't remember all the other ones. Klasnach, I think his contract run out in summer.
I think he's got 2 years.
I can't remember.
2 years left.
There's a few though, isn't there? On top of Socrates, Ozil, and Mustafi, I think.
Has he got a year left?
No, he's got a further year after.
He's got a year after, right? Yeah.
Balogun runs out in January as well, which is a shame.
Yeah.
Apparently, when my sound went funny, I echoed for a minute, apparently, but it's okay now. Thank you for letting me know, Tony. That's appreciated. If Ozil took the 7% wage reduction for the rest, same as the rest of the squad did, there would be 24.5 grand a week available for staff. Gunnosaurus was on 40 grand a year, apparently.
So
not bad salary.
That really was a
not bad salary for a part-time job. 40 grand a year. I wouldn't sniff at that, would you? Finally, jeez.
Yes. What an absolute guy! What an absolute guy! I've got an excellent picture that my brother-in-law took of me at the Aston Villa game, where we beaten 3-2, and he's done me as a woman. So it's a gorgeous woman, I might add.
I bet you will. Bet you will, darling. Apparently Eddie I say apparently, I know. Eddie Longbridge does that, doesn't he, with the players and managers? Yeah. That's really good.
That's when you know you've made it, is when Eddie Longbridge has turned you into a woman.
Oh yeah, exactly. I've been wanting him to do that for ages, but I'm not going to ask him. It just seems quite desperate, doesn't it? Really.
Our time will
Did you have your Sean Penn glasses on? Sean Penn, yes. Did you have your Sean Penn glasses on in the photo? Tony says.
Not at the time, but you know what? They're around here somewhere. These aren't actually the Sean Penns. These are the sabotage glasses, of course.
Yeah, they're your sabotage ones, absolutely.
Yeah, but the Sean Penns are kicking around somewhere. But they like I said, they only come out for special occasions these days because I broke them. So got to be careful. They cost me £4, those glasses.
Right, out of 78, what do you think? What grading out of 78 would you give the transfer window then for Arsenal? I'm not doing out of 10 because everyone does that. So out of 78.
Okay, that's a really good question. So are we combining outgoings with incomings as well?
The whole thing, the whole shebang.
Out of 78.
Yeah.
God, I was literally just chatting to somebody earlier about how absolutely awful I am at maths. So I've now got to kind of, oh, God. All right, I'm just going to pluck a number out of the air and say 45. 46.
That's a bit low, isn't it?
Well, out of 78, it's not, is it?
It's only 50%. Just over 50%.
It's just over. I'm going to go about a 6 out of 10. About maybe a 6.5 out of 10.
We're not doing out of 10.
Right. Okay. All right. So, all right. I'll go a little bit higher. 51 out of 78. Purely because I think there was, getting rid of people like Guendouzi, Socrates, Kolasinac, who else? Maybe Mustafi. I've said Socrates, haven't I? Essentially, our defenders.
Yeah.
It's been a real slog and a real struggle, and perhaps I know that they put a lot of their resources into kind of negotiating for Aouar and trying to negotiate for PARTEY as well. And I guess they got the Gabriel deal done nice and early. That was good. I would say, as far as acquisitions go, we've done all right. You know, the Willian one was done fairly early as well.
Yeah.
But getting them out was, I mean, I don't know how we approached that. I don't know.
I think we're trying really hard to get them out. Honestly, I really do. But we played a rod for our own back. I mean, because they're on too much salary, and they were really close to joining. I mean, Leverkusen were a nano bit away from getting Kolasinac, but we couldn't come to an agreement on salary. And it collapsed on the last day, and the same with other deals. And you know, I think they've tried really, really hard, but it's a terrible market, isn't it, out there at the moment? And I think that out of 78, I would give the window a 65.
Ooh, 65. That's pretty good, man.
I think we did exceptionally well to do what we've done in this current climate, and
great income.
We could have done better getting players out, but we tried and tried and tried. I firmly believe that, and we waited. People were going on about why did we wait until the last day to get PARTEY and everything. The problem is we always knew we were going to get PARTEY, but we were trying until the last day to get players out so that we could get Aouar as well. And the problem with Aouar was his brother. Yeah. Another one of these players like Anelka, who had a brother as an agent. Yeah. It was his brother. Same with Aouar, which doesn't really excite me at all. And apparently his brother asked for a 30 million signing agent's fee.
That is insane. I mean,
so
that's half the price of the player. For goodness.
And the same thing.
He works for the player. He doesn't work.
I know.
The club. You know, it needs to be a case of if he wants the fee, he asks the player, and if the player deems him a useful enough agent, then he'll get what he asks for, or he'll get what he deserves anyway.
Well, the thing is, we want player, and Arteta has said this himself, that he doesn't want to have to try and talk players into joining us. And I've been hugely put off by the fact that he's got his agent is a brother, and the fact that he also apparently, and I don't know this one for fact, but apparently he had a phone call from Zidane a day or two before saying that we want you, we're keeping an eye on you, but we can't have you now, but next year. And he very quickly, after we turned down his brother up for that 30 million fee as well, and he had that phone call. Yeah, he put the message out that he's staying. So that's put me off him a lot. Now I don't, Tony as well.
They don't want to play for Arsenal, and they don't want to play for Arteta.
No, exactly.
It's got to be a no, and I think Arteta would probably he'd ultimately go with that idea as well, because I revisited that thing. So there was an interview that was when he was doing his I think it was just as he was starting to do his coaching, and one of the things he said is one of the first things that I would do and make sure of is that every player that plays for me wants to give 120% for me and for the team.
That annoys me as well. Sorry, buddy. You can't get more than 100%. That is a hugely annoying football thing for me.
It is.
I want to give 110%. No, you don't. You can't. It's not possible, mate. Anyway, sorry, carry on.
At the same time, you get where Mikel was coming from, you know, and I think that is completely. You can see that in the team now, and I think if he's got a doubt about a player, then he's not going to go for it. I think that he would have been a really useful addition to our team. I think he's got a lot of the things that many players in our team haven't got, and something that our team is desperately crying out for. And I think what really remains to be seen at this point is whether there are players in the team that are able to perform the kind of role that he was going to be brought in to do, or if there is a way in which we can make the team work so we can still have that attacking output.
Well, I think, people won't agree with me, and people will say he's too young or he's not experienced. I think we've got it in Emile Smith-Rowe. I think he'd be perfect. But with regards to the creative player, I still think we might do it, anyway, because, there's 2 more, well, not quite 2 more weeks, but another 10 days of the transfer market between the English clubs open. I think we might go after Ben Rama. Or
there have been Buendia from Norwich as well.
Buendia, yeah. I'd rather have Ben Rama because he scored 18 goals last season and got something like a similar, not quite as much, but I think it's about 11 or 12 assists on top as well from an attacking midfield position. And I really, really like him. I've seen him. I watched him play Brentford a few times. On Sky, he's always been really impressive. I really like the way he moves. He's a really good player.
He's got strong character as well, hasn't he? You see him on the pitch, and you can see him telling people what to do and kind of taking charge of situations. His body shape and the way he runs reminds me of Jack Wilshere. Yeah. He's a good
but do you know what? I'll put this on Twitter as a half joke. But because he's available now on a free, I would have him on a pay-as-you-play deal. Definitely, Jack Wilshere. So we're not losing out financially if he gets injured again. But because he said he's been properly fit and raring to go for the last 8 months. Can you imagine having he's only 28, a really fit, in full flight, Jack Wilshere, he would be absolutely perfect for us.
I see what you're saying. But
as long as we do it, seriously, on a page-you-play.
The question is why is he not getting in the West Ham team then? I love, for sentiments, I don't know if your point is, I don't know if your point is, based entirely on sentiment, but
No, he's exactly the type of player we need.
I know what you're saying, and maybe if it was the Jack Wilshere that before his injury problems really became a massive issue, then I would be inclined to agree with you. But you don't know what you're getting, and like I say, if he's getting in the West Ham team, then
you give him a 2-week trial first, wouldn't you? I wouldn't say you just go out and sign him immediately, but get him in on a trial for 2 or even a month. Let him train, get his fitness back up again and everything. Let Arteta have a look at him. But we've got lots of players anyway. What I was going to say is I think we probably might go after Ben Rama, like I mentioned.
Yeah.
But also we have got a lot of players internally. I've just seen a few comments actually as well that we've got Saka as well, who would be great for that role.
What do you think?
Willian could play deeper. Pepe.
I suppose the question I want to ask you is, because there are a few players that could certainly play that role. So, let's say, look, right, going forward for the next 6 months, who are you and assuming that Arteta wants to switch to, say, I don't know, 4-2-3-1, which I think that's beginning to look like what he wants to do, then who do you entrust most out of those players in that position?
Well, I would rather look at the formation more of a 4-3-3, but I would have in the midfield three. My ideal scenario would be on the left, Xhaka, obviously with his left foot. On the right of the three, I'd have Partey, and then, but not really wide. I'm talking about fairly central anyway. But on the right, and then in the middle, a bit further forward, I'd have Ceballos. Yeah, and because that way, having having Xhaka on the left and Partey on the right, they could actually cover those sort of fullback areas as well. Drop a bit deeper when the fullbacks bomb up.
Yeah, and
then as the front three, I would have Saka on the left. Yeah. But also I couldn't. We've got Martinelli coming back, which I cannot wait. Aubameyang down the middle, and then Pepe on the right.
Yeah.
And I'd have Willian as a sub because he can play left or right as well.
I think
I love that. I would love us to play that formation with those players. It would just be mouthwatering as far as I'm concerned.
I think that I think that is probably going to be Arteta's end goal. I think also, but with the personnel that we've got, I don't think that we have the right mobility in our players at the moment to actually pull that off with any real success. I think that maybe a transfer window or two later we might. But
what's wrong with that the players that I mentioned then? Why don't you think they would work?
I'm just thinking, right? I look at Liverpool, right, who do play a really, really successful 4-3-3. And their players, they run all day. It's not just about being quick with your feet and quick at running, but it's about being quick up there as well. And I think that there are certain players. Well, actually, Granit Xhaka was the one that I was thinking of the most, who maybe hasn't quite got that dynamism to pull off that high energy, high pressing, attacking 4-3-3. I don't think that he's the one. Don't get me wrong. He really has his uses in this team, and he for the moment he's doing all right, and actually has really, really improved under Arteta. But going forward, I don't. As far as taking the team forward I don't think that he's the right piece to be in the midfield.
No, not long term at all. I totally agree. But Liverpool's midfield are very static, and that they don't do a lot of bombing up and down the pitch. Their midfield is virtually sort of part time. Because they're hardly used. If you think about it, their fullbacks are completely their attacking force to link the defence and the strikers at the front three, and Firmino, drop in a bit deeper to pick up the ball. Their midfield don't do. They're just literally mopping up, really, if you think about it, with Henderson and Fabinho, for example.
But they're completely in control of that area. Yeah,
but I think that Xhaka and Partey, especially with Xhaka, would be the one that always stays deep. Partey can go on his lung-busting runs and carry the ball, and so will and Ceballos as well. But could be a lot more mobile, knowing that behind him he's actually got Xhaka and Partey patrolling that area, and I think it would give Ceballos a new lease of life. But I don't think Xhaka's lack of mobility in that sort of setup will be a problem, personally. And I think because Tierney, it will give Tierney a new lease of life as well, because he can actually play the proper left back role and bomb up and down the wing, and then Xhaka could just drop into that space just to cover that area whilst he's doing all his crossing into the box, the same as Robertson does for Liverpool.
In an ideal world, yes. In an ideal world, for sure. But when it comes to, what happens when you're caught, and this is what I'm trying to say, is when you are caught out, okay, and you've got the likes of Xhaka trying to recover from that, he's terrible at turning and getting back, and that's not his game, so I'm just going to compare him to someone like Fabinho or Wijnaldum, for instance. They're so good at snapping into action and getting back and making those runs to get back to defend. And look, I am not anti-Granit Xhaka. I think the guy has had enough shit in his life without me or anyone else actually piling on him. I think that Arteta wants to go 4-2-3-1 to begin with anyway. And I think that if that's the case, then something's got to kind of give way in the kind of midfield engine room, and I think it will be Xhaka. I think it will probably be Partey and Ceballos in the midfield role, and then you've got I would like Saka on the left wing. I'd like Pepe on the right. I'd like perhaps Willian, or I'd like to see what Willian can do in the number 10 spot, and then and chuck Oba as centre forward.
Ideally, in my mind, the way things will go, we would have Emile Smith-Rowe playing where I said Ceballos would play, and Ceballos drop back into the Xhaka role. That's what my ideal thing is. Yeah, sure. And I've got so much faith and confidence that if we as fans could just not get on Emile Smith-Rowe's back, give him that run in the team, and if he makes a mistake, he makes a mistake. But if we don't berate him and say, "Oh, he's shit," get him out of the team and replace him with so-so, he needs to be persevered with. Let him play his natural game. I think he could be the one we're looking for to play that attacking one out of the three. The longer term, and I'm not saying immediately now, and but longer term, I really want us to sort of see that, and then Ceballos and Partey at the back. But the problem is with Ceballos, he's not ours, which is really frustrating. I really wish we had a guaranteed figure that we would buy him for next summer, because I love the guy. I think he's a brilliant player, and I really want us to keep him. And the fact that we haven't got an obligation to buy, or even an option, but an obligation would be great, because
I think that's it.
After this season, I tell you what, we probably won't be able to afford him, because he's going to. I know that he's improved massively, immeasurably under Arteta already, and after another season under his belt, we're putting a lot of value on that player for Real Madrid, and I don't know whether we'd be able to afford him next summer.
Well, unless we qualify for the Champions League, maybe.
Well, we will. Yeah, we will. But I don't know. It's frustrating anyway. But I'm just going to say a quick hello to some of the people watching. Yeah. And it's Morphic, your friend 666.
Morphic, yes, hi Morphic. How you doing, my friend? You all right?
Hello to Russ as well. Evening, chaps. Hope you're both well. Very well, thank you, Russ. Hope you are too. And Tony has put another comment saying, that is why Ceballos usually plays 8 to 10 yards behind Xhaka. Yeah, exactly. At the moment, our midfield hasn't been strong enough, is it? Which is why so exciting that Partey's come in. 2 loan spells without an option or an obligation to buy sucks. It really does. Yeah. yeah, I'm disappointed. When we re-signed him, I said that straight away. I was really disappointed. But yeah, you know what? I've said this before on Twitter an awful lot, and about we need to take a leaf out that some of these club books, like Borussia Dortmund, their front three is I think it's got an average age of about 19 at the moment, or 20.
And when you look at them as well, I mean, Jesus, what, Haaland? Who is it? Haaland, Sancho and...
Reina.
Oh.
17, Reina. And he is playing in let's face it, it's a top quality league for a club that's got aspirations to win the league. And they're trusting their young players. And look what happens. You know, they nearly or could have sold Sancho. They bought him for 10 million or 10 million euros and nearly sold him for 120. And they will do a minimum.
10 times the amount, or more than 10 times the amount. That
Can you imagine how much they'd get for Haaland, as well? And
I got a funny feeling that there is some, I think
there's a buyout. There's a buyout clause that comes into fruition next summer.
It's not the largest, is it?
No, I think it's about 60 something million, maybe. I'm not sure, but it's between maybe 70 maximum. But it's a decent amount. But I mean, God, imagine if we could get him, to be a long-term replacement for Aubameyang. That'd be great.
That would be amazing. I feel that there are going to be quite a few people knocking on the door, and perhaps the Arsenal knock might not necessarily.
We got a different knock. But what I was going to say, and then you look at Havertz, who has obviously just gone to Chelsea, and he played. I said before, he's 21 now. He made his debut when he was in 2016, and look at him now. And how much did they pay for him? 90 million, something like that.
I think it was 70 for Havertz, wasn't it?
I think it's 90 all in all with all the add-ons and everything. Yeah. And he's going to be a top player, but we need to have that kind of foresight. And when you get a special talent like Saka, which we are doing, we're playing him. And I see Emile Smith-Rowe in the same way that we all see Saka. And I think he's got the same amount of talent in a different position. But I really, really want us to have that courage, and especially as a set of fans as well, to actually back him when he's in the team, and don't get on his back immediately if he does make a mistake, or the odd pass goes astray, or he misses the odd opportunity, or whatever. Let him blossom, and I think he could be as good as any of those players, and because those other players I just mentioned, like the Kai Havertz and all the other young players in coming up in Germany and France and so on, because they are not right under our noses and they haven't come through our academy and they are available for so many millions of pounds. That's much more exciting for fans to think, oh no, don't want to bother with Smith-Rowe. We want to get a Kai Havertz. Look at him, he's amazing. But if we were Dortmund fans and we saw Emile Smith-Rowe playing for Arsenal and we think, look at him. Do you know what I mean?
I do.
Sometimes what we need is right in front of our eyes and under our nose, and we don't know it. So
I think also to do with it's to do with player confidence as well, isn't it? So I think that sometimes a player, especially young players, just need the manager to be able to just say to them, I trust you. Yeah. And like you say about making sure that we don't get on, or the fans, should I say,
exactly,
get on the back of Emile. I mean, he's young; he's going to make mistakes, isn't he?
He's 20 now. He's 20. He's 20. He's not like wet behind the ears anymore. I know. The problem is he had a year virtually. He lost a year of his development because of serious injury, and so that's put him back a bit. But if I was Arteta now, I'd say to him, look, I'm going to put all my trust in you. I just want you to go out there and enjoy yourself and just express yourself. Do what comes natural. You've got the next 10, 15 games. And you show everyone what you can. And I would actually say it in one of the press conferences. Look, I'm going to give him the next however many games, 10, 15 games. And I'll talk to the fans via the press conference and say, look, that I've got so much. Do you know how we all hang on Arteta's every word, don't we? You know, we all love the guy. If he actually sat down and said, you know, I'm going to give him Emile Smith Rowe the next 10, 15 games, and I really want you lot as fans to back him because I see so much talent in this kid. You know, back him because you will see eventually what I see in training every day, and I would do something like that because that way it will give the kid a much more of a chance and an opportunity. And if you come out and say something like that to the fans, that's quite powerful, really, and say, look, he's going to make the odd mistake, but he's going to be one of our best players in the future. So I would love to see that so much. But it doesn't happen, and if fans don't like it, they won't like it, will they? They want to go out and spend, the 50 million quid on our, unfortunately, and that's the problem. You know, sometimes I'm not saying all our youngsters coming through the academy are going to make it because they're not, but I think he's a bit extra special in the same way as Saka is, personally. Yeah. When you get one like that,
the limited kind of the limited views I've seen of him playing, and usually it's been against lesser opposition in either in the Europa League or in the Carling Cup or maybe like an early FA Cup game. When I've seen him, you know, he has been very noticeable, very electric, and you can see that it's there. You can see that he's got it. And actually, the appearances I watched a couple of times when he was playing for Huddersfield as well, you know, on loan last season. And that was, again, he has that kind of electricity and that dynamism that just puts a bit of life into what the team's doing, you know?
Definitely.
Tonight.
I honestly think he could blossom into a player similar to Kevin De Bruyne, personally. I really do. I'm not saying he's going to be quite hit those heights, maybe. I hope he does. But I'm not saying he's going to be quite as good as Kevin De Bruyne, but he's a very similar style player. And he's got very similar attributes. And I had a conversation I haven't had a chance to sort of go into too much depth with him, but I don't know if you've seen on Twitter, I asked a group of Huddersfield fans what they thought about him, and every single one of them come back and said, yeah, absolutely love the kid. Wish we could keep him. Wish we could have had him for this season as well. He's brilliant. I'd have him back in a heartbeat. Yeah. And just because it's Huddersfield, he actually went into Huddersfield in playing in the Championship. Is really tough. You all know it's the toughest league in the world to get out of. And the fact that he went in there in a desperate fight against relegation, and he come out of it smelling like roses, you know, and it's a tough physical league, and it says a lot to me. And he kept them up virtually on, you know, single-handedly scoring that goal the last day, and he got Leeds promoted, you know, with what he did, didn't he, as well? So he made a significant impression on that club, I think he deserves his chance. I really, really hope we don't just go down. Oh, it's an easy thing to do, isn't it? Just to send him out on loan, you know, give him another loan. And I don't want him to feel like he's not part of the squad. I don't want him to think, oh, just going to get put out on loan again. I think I might have to start considering his future and thinking about moving elsewhere, you know, because I would rather send Reece Nelson and Willock on a loan, see how they get on, than him, because I would rather us keep him. I do honestly see him as an option without having to go to the market to buy a Ben Rama or an Awar or whatever. I mean, that's going to impede his progress, I guess. I mean, like I mentioned earlier, I think that, you know, I think that if they are going to go with a 4-2-3-1 for the time being, anyway,
then I think he'll probably try and see how it gets on with Willian, and if it doesn't get on with Willian, then we'll see what happens.
No doubt. I've got no doubt. Yeah, but I mean, Tony said, I'm not sure ESR can stay for 15 straight matches. This is the sort of thing I mean, and I'm not. This is nothing against you, Tony, and I fully appreciate what you're saying. But what is that actually based on? Because of his injuries in the past, it doesn't mean that it's going to be the same going forward. You know, he's a young lad. He's got much more ability of overcoming injuries at his age than I have if I injure my back getting out the sofa, if you know what I mean, because I'm older. I could quite easily get a strain, you know, just getting off the sofa and going to bed, you know, than most people. But it's not based on anything. And people, you know, who completely write off any of our academy players, like Nketiah is a prime example. I've lost count of the amount of people that said, no, Nketiah ain't going to cull it at Arsenal. Ain't going to cull it. Not good enough. And maybe he won't be, but it's not based on anything. It's because, I don't know, you know, Liverpool sold Rhian Brewster for 23 million to Sheffield United. And how many Premier League appearances has that kid made? I don't think he's actually made one.
Not a single one.
Exactly. And whereby Nketiah is scoring pretty regularly now in our first team in all competitions.
And he's joined. I think he's joined the ranks of the top scoring under 21s, along with Shearer, and
he's got. I think he only needs one goal, doesn't he, to beat Shearer's record? I think
really?
I'm right. Yeah. He scored 11 in 10 for the under 21s, which is.
I love, as you well know, I love
Eddie. I think he's brilliant. And but when you get comments like that from your own fans who just write them off, not based on fact, that really does frustrate me, because I think that if Eddie Nketiah again was playing for Borussia Dortmund and we were linked with him in the summer transfer window, everyone would be going mental. No, everyone would say, we've got to get him. And if we don't,
they'd be like that, pay the dollar, pay the dollar. Whatever.
Exactly. We've got to get him. He's a fantastic player, and, you know, throw the money at it. And if we didn't get him, it'll be the end of the world, you know. But I virtually guarantee that, you know, and the same goes for Smith Rowe. If he had a different foreign name and he played for one of the Bundesliga teams, or if he was in Liga, we would be going mad about him and all. So yeah, I just wanted to give them a chance, and I think it's important. I
was just gonna bring something up, actually, that was in the comments box. What do we make of the Kieran Tierney situation? Being in quarantine for 2 weeks. I mean,
there's an official statement on the club website now. The official statement, and it's he is definitely negative.
Right.
He came into contact with a player. I'm just going to go on to it now. Hopefully, still got it open on my phone.
Yeah.
I have got it open on my phone, but it's the wrong page. Here we are. Club statement. The Scottish FA today announced that Southampton player Stuart Armstrong has returned a positive test for COVID-19 whilst away on international duty. Within the announcement, the SFA confirmed that all other members of the squad have returned negative results. However, the Lothian Health Protection Team in Scotland have identified 2 players and 2 members of the backroom staff as close contacts. As a consequence, our defender Kieran Tierney and Celtic player Ryan Christie, along with 1 physio and 1 masseur, have been advised they will require to self-isolate 14 days as of yesterday. Our medical team have confirmed that Kieran was socially distant at all times from the player who tested positive and has broken no rules regarding COVID-19 protocols. We are currently seeking further advice and clarification of the details. Kieran has also been in touch and said, I am so disappointed and frustrated to be in this situation. I have adhered to all regulations and made sure I was socially distancing from my teammates in the hotel. I've also tested negative. I know Arsenal and the SFA are now in discussions with the Scottish authorities to gain a further understanding. So it's not the end of the road just yet. He might potentially, if the club can negotiate, then hopefully he won't have to do all that self-isolation for 14 days. Fingers crossed.
He's a good boy, isn't he? He's such a good boy. I mean, like you say, he's done everything that's been asked of him. He's very much a play-by-the-rules kind of fella.
He tucked his shirt in, for Christ's sake.
Oh, God. Have you noticed that Bellerin has now started to copy it?
I love it. I wish all of them would do it. I absolutely love it. I do. I really do.
Yeah,
and
my dad, you know, he would be, well, I will tell him, actually, he'll be very, very proud that these players are doing this. So, yeah, I mean, so what if he can't play? Because I think, you know, he is going to be very, very instrumental in the Man City match. We're going to need him. I just can't see ourselves sticking all our eggs in the Kolasinac basket.
The thing is, whenever any players go away on international duty, they are given this special dispensation whereby they don't have to self-isolate on returning to the country and so on, because of the elite sports program, whatever it's called, you know. And if Kieran Tierney is continuously testing negative for COVID-19 and on his return to Arsenal he's again negative, then there's no way that Arsenal as a club would not play one of their biggest assets in a very, very important game for no reason. I just don't think that would happen. And because he's away on international duty, it doesn't make any difference, because if he's been in contact with a player who has tested positive, but he is continuously testing negative throughout this period, then there's no worries about that at all, as far as I'm concerned. And I'm sure that the club's representatives and maybe the legal team or whatever will be able to sort that out, because he's a very, very important player, especially for that Man City game. And it could be the difference of us winning or not. And Tony said, can Gabriel play left back? No, he wouldn't be able to do the role that Arteta requires of a fullback. It's such a different role, isn't it? And the way that he gets them to play it and dropping into midfield on occasions, but mostly the attacking part of it and putting the crosses into the box. I can't see Gabriel bombing up and down the wing and putting crosses in with his left foot. I'm sure he could, if he's just literally stopping in defence, as a left back and staying there, then fine. But that's not the role that Arteta wants of his fullback, is it? Under any circumstances. No,
I mean it would be. It would be amazing for Gabriel to have that string in his bow, but I don't think that he's that kind of player, is he?
No.
Here's a thing. So obviously, Callum Chambers is getting closer and closer to fitness. Moving forward, because obviously we've got lots of issues with, like, what the hell do we do with all these central defenders? Going forward, like, because he did start as a right back before he moved to central defence. So, do you think he would be one of those players who might be able to be deployed on the left?
See, the thing is with Arteta, he's very particular about having left-footed players on the left side of the defence, and right-footed players on the right side of the defence, doesn't he? Yeah. Apart from, with the one exception of Mainsley, exactly. But that is not a full-back role. That is a sort of a wing-back role, isn't it? Which is fair. So it does depend, and I wouldn't rule it out, but it's an interesting one. I actually liked Callum Chambers when he sort of filled in at right back. I thought he did a good job.
Yeah, he's putting some good shifts. Tony and I have had a few discussions about Callum Chambers, and I've had to change my opinion on him actually, because I sort of said to him, I don't know what it is about Chambers. I don't really like him. He just has the kind of face that really annoys me, was my reasoning behind it, which I know is not exactly the most.
He must like his hair and beard though at the moment.
You see now. Well, Tony sent me a picture of Callum with his brand new sort of Tyrion Lannister look, and I was like, well, I'm sorry, all is forgiven.
Yeah, I think he looks like a Viking type of thing. He looks wicked. But yeah, Tyrion Lannister, he's got a few inches on Tyrion, I think, isn't he? But yeah. Right, we better start wrapping this up because I know. Is there any other business that we need to discuss?
I think maybe what we'll do, we'll have a bit of a chat, won't we, off air about our availability, because a few people have been asking me about when are you going to sort of focus on the mental health special podcast. So
exactly. Now the thing is, next Wednesday, we'll carry on this chat afterwards. But next Wednesday, I'm hoping to do a show, but it'll be later than normal because I've got the audience with Arsene Wenger on that Wednesday next week, and I'm pretty sure it's 7 till 8. So I was hoping to do a show after that to we have a discussion about what Arsene said, and I think next Wednesday it's the 14th. On the 12th, I've got another audience with Arsene Wenger as well. So we'll have a couple of those to talk about on the show on the Wednesday. So we'll have to see whether we can get together between now and next Wednesday, if we can get any time together to do the extra show about the mental health experiences we have. But we'll get together on that. We'll keep your eyes on the Twitter, everyone, and we'll put that out as soon as possible when we can get together, me and Chappers, to discuss it. Now, if anyone also would like to join us on that show, if you've got any kind of experience or anything you want to share with regards to the mental health situation, then drop us, either of us, a DM, and we can take it from there and get you on. No problem at all. We've got to get off in a second to go and have a Thomas PARTEY, haven't we?
Always.
Yeah, it's not a euphemism either. But if there's nothing else that you want to sort of have a quick mention.
No, I think that wraps it up for me, my friend. It's been a really lovely podcast tonight. Bit of Bernard Butler going on, and a good old chat about the whole situation, all the things that have happened in what has been quite a dramatic week at Arsenal. It's been really fun tonight, and thanks everybody for all your comments and joining in. It's always appreciated, isn't it?
Exactly, absolutely. And what I'm going to try and see whether I can sneakily record the audience with Arsene Wenger as I'm watching it virtually next week. And if I can, I might try and sneakily put them out as podcasts as well, so you can all have a listen to see what the great man's got to say. Because I can't wait for those. Actually, I'm really looking forward to them. I really am.
Yeah.
So, and
very good, I have to say.
So thank you everyone for watching, for listening. Please drop us a like, whether you're listening back to this later on. Give us a like. Give us a subscribe if you haven't done so already. And if you're listening on the audio version of the podcast, please give us a rating, because we really, really want to get bigger audience figures, so we can share this beautiful show with more Gooners across the world.
Take over the world, Andrew.
It goes without saying. I want to get to a stage where I can advertise Manscaped. You know, I want to talk about the Lawnmower 3000 or something like that, or BF52, or, you know, anything. You know, I'd love to do that. Yeah, got to cover some expenses, for Christ's sake. So, you know. Anyway, thanks a lot, chappers. And
my pleasure always. Oh no, that's somebody else's line, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. And thank
been a
you.
pleasure, my friend.
Yeah, thank you to Bernard for being such a great guest earlier as well. Thank you to everyone, Tony, Morphic, Russ. Where are we? I'm trying to scroll through, and it's really difficult.
Tony, Morphic, Russ, overall, Rich.
Rich, yeah, of course. Everyone. Hambo Gumble. A stupid bloke called Stuart Chapman. Who the hell's he?
I have no idea.
He can piss off. He can piss off out these.
He needs to get off that feed, I tell you.
Steep. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Anyway, everyone, if I missed anyone, I do apologise. But thanks everyone for watching. Please tune in next week and keep an eye on the Twitter for the special show that we'll have between now and then as well. Until then, it's a goodbye from me.
And goodbye from me.
Thanks again for listening, and thanks for all your birthday wishes on Twitter. Really means a lot to me. As a little extra birthday gift, I'm leaving you with the song that I was talking about on the show, Wasted by Hybrid Minds. I really hope you like it. See you next week.
I've been going through some changes, trying times, and I just need to face it. Wasted time, wasted time. I've been going through some changes, trying times. through some changes.